Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Tuesday, May the 7th City Council agenda session. I now call this meeting to order. I trust that your cell phones are on silence. At this time, I want to ask Councilwoman Burrs if she'd lead us in the pledge and invocation as she so desires.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ma'am. We do have a special presentation this afternoon, 2024 Public Works Week proclamation. It was scheduled to be given by Councilman Hester, but he's not able to be with us at this time. So Councilwoman Dotley has agreed to do this. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much, Chairman. I read the proclamation. City of Chattanooga, Office of the Mayor, proclamation. Whereas public works services provided in our communities are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives, and whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as water, sewer, streets, and highways, public buildings, and solid waste collection. And whereas the health, safety, and comfort of Tennessee's residents largely depends on these facilities and services, and whereas overall quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, are vitally dependent upon the effort and skill of public works officials, and whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff Public Works Department can be positively influenced by increased knowledge and understanding of the citizens, and whereas this year marks the 63rd Annual National Public Works Week. Now, therefore, I, says Tim Kelly, Mayor of the City of Chattanooga, do hereby proclaim May 19th through 24th as National Public Works Week, advancing quality of life for all in the city of Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I call upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing our public works and to recognize the contributions which public works officials make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Chattanooga to be affixed this day, Mayor Tim Kelly. So I guess it's coming up, so happy early Public Works Week to Public Works. And is anyone here from Public Works to take a proclamation?
And as Ross is coming up, if you're here from the Public Works Department, will you stand and let us recognize you, please?
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I would be remiss if I did not give a shout out to the president of the Oak Hills Association, who's retired from Public Works here, Mr. Terry McCullough. So thank you for showing up today. And thank you for your service. Thank you, Ron.
Well, you're not going to say a few words?
Beware what you ask for. So council and mayor's office, I greatly appreciate this proclamation for the Public Works Week. We're going to celebrate the week of the 20th. We are appreciative of the support that you give us, and that also the understanding that the city has, knowing that we provide essential service to everybody, including fire, emergency, police, and everybody else. So we're very thankful for this, and we continue to provide services that everybody expects. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I do want to thank all those that are here today from the Public Works and all the Department of Public Works employees for what you do for the city of Chattanooga. Councilwoman, it's Councilman Ledford. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to say a few words. I said this in our budget session just a few minutes ago to Ross and the team at Public Works. Thank you for what you do. I know we say that every 2 weeks during committee, but we really do mean it. When we need you, you are there, and your response and your attentiveness to the district's needs is really, really appreciated, and you respond so quickly to small things, to large things, and I just wanted to say that you are very appreciated, and we thank you very, very much.
All right. Councilwoman Burrs.
Ross, hey, I don't want to give you the big head, but I got to tell you something. You're a pleasure to work with. Whenever I have a question or I need anything, I get a very prompt and professional response. Very proud to have you working in the city. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
All right. Could I get a motion on the minutes, please? All right, with no objections, the minutes will stand as recorded. Moving into our agenda, is there anything on this week's agenda that needs to be brought to our attention at this time? And we do have Planning and Zoning Committee meeting following. Councilwoman Noel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There is on the planning ordinance first reading on A. I am going to defer on that.
Sure, and we'll talk about that at Planning and
Okay.
Zoning Committee.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, anything on, Councilwoman Hill. All right,
Well, just one thing I think is worth highlighting in our agenda meeting is that there are no purchases this evening. And that is first for me.
okay. Well, we'll get to that in just a minute, but thank you. Anything on next week's agenda that needs to be brought to our attention at this time? Next week's agenda, Tuesday, May the 14th. All right, seeing no hands, as Councilwoman Hill has already noted, there are no purchase items for this afternoon for your consideration. Future considerations, our 3-week look ahead. Anything on that agenda that needs to be brought to our attention at this time? Councilwoman Dotley.
Yeah, I had a question about, on the economic development item D,
D
regarding
or B?
D.
D.
Yes. It's the item regarding trust of public land. Can we have more information about what that, what this is? I'm always a fan of trust of public land, so I'm always glad to see us working with them.
Yeah, we have the opportunity to work in partnership with the Trust for Public Lands on a piece of property acquisition in conjunction with the state, so we're seeking approval from y'all to apply for a grant.
Oh, good. Is it gonna be what is it gonna be?
I think it's appropriate because it's land acquisition. I just say it's for land acquisition right
Oh.
now and do that.
Oh, okay, I'll come back again, Scott. I'll come back. Thank you.
Thank you.
You good, Councilwoman?
Yes, sir,
All
thank
right.
you.
Any other questions on future considerations? All right. All right, at this time, we'll have our annual consent decree update by the wastewater department, and then we'll follow that by planning and zoning.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Heinzer?
We do have a short presentation here to provide some of these updates. All right, thank you. So this is our annual update, of course, to this board. Just want to go over what we've been doing, the progress that we've made, and where we're going in the future. So we'll talk about the status of our program, the solutions we've implemented, the results up to date, and then how we're going to get towards completion of the consent decree. So first thing to note is that we've completed phase one. This slide has been updated since the last time we presented it. We've closed out the phase one projects now. We are well into phase two. There was some overlap there, as you can see, but we are already 28 projects or 28 compliance submittals completed with the state. This is basically, this slide is just, we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's with our submittals and our updates to the state and the federal government on what we're doing. So we're 100% compliance here with what those requirements are. Looking at the dollar amounts, again, we've closed out the phase one. This is, an updated slide from the last time. Into phase two, we're well into these contracts, and I think the biggest point on this slide is on the right-hand side, that green bar. We've got funding identified for 71% of the phase two projects already. This is going out to 2030. is what phase 2 is, and so a lot of that is already figured out. So we've got a plan for completing all the required projects and moving forward, and we're well into those as well. We've got contracts for over $170 million in the upgrades that we're doing right now. And again, so looking at the phase 2 side of the slide, we've completed a lot already, and you can see going from conceptual design, procurement, planning, bidding, construction, we've got numerous projects in the pipeline. They are all moving forward from phase to phase according to our schedule. This is a little bit of a kaleidoscope slide, but really all this is the neighborhoods and the sewer basins within those neighborhoods and how we've kind of parceled them out and did our inspections early on in the advent of the consent decree. So what you'll notice here is there are some kind of bold neighborhoods highlighted where we've actually, those bold areas were identified specifically in the consent decree as needing rehab and rehabilitation. So those are the areas that we're focused on, and completing those 29 areas is what's required of the consent decree. We are, again, well into that. We've completed 9 of those neighborhoods in the first phase, 12 in progress now in phase 2, and we'll have 8 more later on in phase 2. Again, we've got the whole city identified, and we actually go through the whole city and look at things, and we're going around the whole city all the time, making repairs and doing rehab. But the consent decree only identifies these 29, so that's why we're highlighting them in this slide for you. Rest assured, we go over the whole city every year, and we're over the whole city every year. We're not just focusing on these, but these are what our legal compliance kind of amounts to, and we're well into this as well. One of the bigger projects that we have right now is our Citico pump station upgrade. It's the largest pump station in our system, and you can see by the size of those pumps that they move a lot of water out of our neighborhoods over to the plant for treatment. And also with this project, we're putting in another force main across the Tennessee River. This project is going to add, capacity as well as resiliency to the overall system for a large portion of the city. Looking at this slide, shows where we are adding capacity in the system. As you can see, these are all what we call equalization stations. So when we get heavy rain events, we get a lot of intrusion of rainwater into the pipes. And rather than have that water push itself out of the pipes downstream, we've got these stations in place to capture that and to mitigate any kind of potential sanitary sewer overflow. The Hom Road facility, the 30 million gallons, was completed a few years ago, and it's been performing excellently. And so the E2, I2 projects on the southeast side, those are in design right now. And the Conestita Drive one up in Hickson is under construction. So these are all very well along and will provide even more capacity, more resiliency for the city in these areas in the future. Don't want to forget about the plant. There's a lot going on at the plant. There's a lot of projects under construction right now to improve capacity and efficiency out there. I won't go into detail on this slide, but as you can see, there's just about every area of the plant is being touched on and improved upon, again, for resiliency, redundancy, and capacity. And this slide is probably one of the more important slides. So if you look at the background here, this map shows a heat map of where we had chronic sanitary sewer overflows at the advent of the consent decree back in 2013. At that time, projects were identified to address all those chronic overflows. As you can see, a lot of the projects are in green and completed. There's a number under construction, and there's a few that are still waiting on getting out to construction there. But we currently have no chronic sanitary sewer overflows. So where we started from way back in 2013, this was one of the biggest focuses of the consent decree, was to eliminate the chronic SSOs. And now today in 2024, we're just about there. This year we are there. So due to the support from this body, from City Hall, from our partners, our contractors and consultants, and especially the men and women out at Moccasin Bend continuing to keep things going, we've now reached this goal of having these chronic SSOs eliminated for the most part. So Mother Nature will find a way to make me eat my words. But right now we have done so much, and looking at this slide here, you can see the rainfall hasn't gotten any less really. It's trended pretty level, but our sanitary sewer overflows are way down, 90%. This is a huge win for the city, huge win for our environment and for our neighborhoods that had wastewater flowing out of the manholes back in the day. So again, we want to celebrate this, to celebrate all the effort that everyone around the city has been putting into making this happen. Looking to complete this consent decree. So today we're 2024. We've got a deadline of July 10th, 2030. So it seems like might be way out in the future, but it seems like time flies when you're talking about construction and stuff. So we've got our ongoing projects with our pump station upgrades we talked about and some of the interceptor rehab upgrades. Those are going to finish out at the end of 2028, early 2029. E2I2 project, which is funded through a low-interest loan from the EPA. That deadline is December of 2028, and we're on track for that. So that'll add that capacity and resiliency. And those neighborhoods, that kaleidoscope slide, those neighborhoods that we're looking at, going into doing rehab work, again, we got to complete those. We plan on completing those by 2029 and getting all that done. And then the last thing that will be part of what we have to do for the consent decree is the capacity assurance plan. And this is a future-looking plan, so we want to be able to grow. We want to be able to allow new connections, whether it's new residential, new industrial, new commercial developments. We've got to show that our system has the capacity to continue to grow and to continue to add more users into the system. And so all of this effort that we're doing now not only eliminates those SSOs, but it also provides for future growth. And so that's what we're looking at, and that's part of that consent decree as well. We'll do the capacity assurance plan, and from that point on, we can then file to terminate that consent decree and get out from under that. So that is my presentation for today. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Heinzer before we, yeah, Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Chairman. Mark, this is good news.
Very good.
I was a little shocked to see no SSOs.
Oh, chronic SSOs.
Chronic SSOs, sorry, yeah. I understand. I almost got myself in trouble there.
I will say that before you continue, I would say we have power outages, we've got blockages, we've got collapsed pipes that we just have to deal with.
No, I understand. The chronic SSOs, let's make sure we get that right.
Yeah,
For
please
especially,
continue.
that is that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a super big deal. Folks ask a lot about capacity. I've heard people say things, and so now I'm going to ask straight from the source. Is our sewer capacity, are we at capacity, or we have room to grow?
Yes and no. If you notice the map with all of the different basins on it, some basins have capacity and some not so much.
Right.
And so what we're trying to do is to make sure we can level that playing field where we've got the capacity we need, where we need it. And again, we've got the combined sewer area in the downtown portion of the collection system, which whenever we get a big rain, there's no capacity there, right? So it's very challenging in the downtown areas and the areas that feed through there. But for the most part, we are in good shape. Due to the work that we're doing, we will be able to have future growth, we feel, once we get all these projects done and we get the hydraulic model, which tells us what our capacity is, right? So once we get all that refined, we'll understand better where we need to do future projects to maybe increase capacity if we know we have growth coming. We've been working with the planning department to understand where growth is expected, what type of growth that's going to be. And so we work kind of in conjunction with that to know where to put our resources when it comes to capacity.
Very good. Two quick questions. Did you touch on the West Bank at all?
I didn't really call that out,
Okay.
but we've not had any West Bank overflows due to the rain events that they used to have, right? So yeah, that was a big thing with the consumption. Those were horrible pictures to see. So Yep.
that's also good news. The last question is the process to petition, I guess, to the end of our consent decree. When does that process start, and what are we on target for benchmarks to start that process?
I would have to probably defer to legal on that because it is a court proceeding that has to happen, and it does take some time. I think we would want to make sure.
How far ahead? If
Yeah,
we're
I'm
wanting
sorry,
to say we'd like to be
yeah.
released from it,
Yeah.
how far ahead do we prepare?
I don't know that answer. I'll have to get back to you on that.
That'd be fine. Thank you. All right. Good job. That's good news. Thank you, Chairman.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Heinzer? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All All right, at this time, we will go into Planning and Zoning Committee.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Planning and Zoning for Tuesday, May 7th. We'll take a motion on the minutes, please. Minutes will stand without objection. Ms. Rennick, I know you are raring to go this afternoon. I want to make a quick announcement. Last week, I had announced we were to have our final zoning work session on May 28th because I was so super excited about our final workshop. That has been officially moved to June 4th at 1 p.m. in the Collins Conference Room. So if you'll please make a note of that. June 4th will be our final workshop on our new zoning codes. So Karen, we have a couple of cases from Planning Commission that had opposition. I have one that is not highlighted. If you'll allow me to bring up case 0179 in District 8. Councilwoman Knoll, I believe there's a note that this case was to be requested to defer until May 21st. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and it is on our agenda for this evening, so in consultation with the city attorney, I think it would be proper for us to make a motion to defer that from the floor in our next session.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item H, case 0032 in District 3, that does not have opposition, but I believe may have an update. And Councilman Smith, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I assure you it has opposition. I've spoken with the
From
applicant.
Planning Commission, but yes, I agree with you 100%, sir.
I have spoken with the applicant. They've been very good at getting with the neighborhood on many occasions, but we still have not come to an agreement yet. So at this time, we feel it's better for them to withdraw this case and work on a little bit further. So I'll be making that motion this evening.
Very good. We will look
Thank you.
for that motion. Thank you, sir. And thanks for all your time and follow-up. Karen, I have case 0053 pulled up on our first case with opposition from Planning Commission. Are we on?
That's correct.
Very good. Yeah, oh, Dr. Burrs, hit your light for me. It might have. Dr. Burrs, please.
Yeah, there was not any opposition on my case, which is 0052.
Yes, ma'am.
There was no opposition, but I've not heard back from the applicant. And I don't know if he's talked with the people in the community. I don't know anything more. So at least I'd like to know briefly what he's trying to do. I know it's 2 entrances,
That's correct.
but a little bit more about it, if I could, please. I
Absolutely.
don't need a total presentation, just what it's about. And, Mr. Chair, I will be asking the applicant. I really have heard nothing. He called me the first time and I said, meet with the community. You know, I need their input. I respect their input. And I've not heard anything else, so.
Okay. Would you like me to add that to our list of cases and we'll, to have Karen go over for us?
Yes, but like real briefly.
Real briefly,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't need anything except what is it?
We'll be happy to do that.
All right,
for you.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. So Karen, I think you do have queued up 0053.
Yes, and I think that based on the guidance I was given, I think we can go through this one pretty quickly. It's a request to rezone 305 Browns Ferry Road from R2 to C2 convenience commercial zone for a liquor store. There's no recent zoning history in the site. It's surrounded by commercial, shown in red. It's across from a new gas station. The land use transitions more to residential to the southwest along Browndale Drive. The staff found, staff found that the request for rezoning is partially compatible with the plan, but that's an extension of an existing zone and was recommending approval. There was opposition. We had 3 emails in opposition from the community. One's from the Lookout Valley Neighborhood Association. Planning Commission determined the request is compatible with the plan and development form and recommends approval.
I do believe there's some interest perhaps in putting conditions on this case.
Very good. Chairman Henderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There was some concerns about the fact that the request would be to rezone for a liquor store, in the fact that this is right into the entrance of a residential neighborhood, which the neighborhood association didn't feel like it would be appropriate. So Karen, they sent, I think, some conditions that they would like to see placed on this rezoning. I don't think they have a problem with rezoning it to C2, but they did, I think, send some requests for conditions. Do you mind to read those? And Mr. Attorney, what I'd like to do is to have an alternate version that we could read next week, and that's what I would present to the council for approval.
I reviewed the Lookout Mountain Neighbor Association's, Lookout Valley Neighbor Association's email, and appears developing conditions based on their email. The conditions would be C2, condition to no liquor store, no storage, no adult-oriented establishment, and no access onto Browns Ferry Road. I would qualify that with unless is needed for life safety access. So they're interested in no access on the Browns Ferry. There's an existing curb cut, and we have had a condition to allow access if needed for life safety.
Have you got those conditions, Mr. Attorney?
I will ask her to send those to me.
Okay.
I will email those.
Okay. And I would like to see that in an alternate version for next week.
Very good.
That's it.
Anything further on that? Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you, Chairman. Karen, let's move to 0054 over to District 2.
Okay, this is a form-based code rezoning. It's a request to rezone North Market Street in Hamilton from ERM3, that's the Urban Edge Multi-Unit Residential Zone, to ECX3, which is the Urban Edge Commercial Mixed-Use Zone for multi-unit residential development. So this is on North Market, just as it turns to go up the hill. The form-based code was adopted in 2016, and the North Shore area was designated in the Urban Edge context. That's the E, that first portion of that zoning designation. The proposed site was designated as ERM3 based on adopted plans and community input at that time. The property immediately to the south was rezoned to ECX3. In 2022, it had a condition at that time that non-residential uses only allowed on the ground floor, with residential uses allowed on any floor. The intention of that was to not have the whole building, all 3 stories of that building, be commercial. I'll note that the applicant narrative talks about proposing to be 41 units and 48 parking spaces, but this portion is part of an overall development, includes the property to the north. So I just wanted to show the site plan, which shows that. So I don't know how those 41 units are distributed, but it also, I think, informs the applicant's reason for rezoning, just pulling out 2 points from their narrative. They propose to rezone 0.29 acres of the whole 1 acre site to have the same zoning as the zoning to the north, and that this zoning will allow for continuity along this entire area. So this property is intended to be a portion of a larger development. There's a mix of multifamily residential, single-family residential, small-scale commercial, and offices along North Market. ECX zone will kind of allow for that continued mix of uses and should be compatible with the neighborhood encourage walkability. We're going to skip over this site plan. The plan recommends, the 2007 North Shore plan recommends low-intensity mixed use. And so there are 3 points that the rezoning could support, which is uses should be pedestrian-oriented with storefront retail and office, with second-floor office uses, office or residential uses, parking located to the rear when possible, and 0 setbacks are encouraged, and height should not exceed 30 feet. However, that plan was also recommending a smaller footprint, so the rezoning request is only really kind of partially compatible with that plan. But it does, this is a request as an extension of an existing zone. So staff recommended approval, and then carrying along the same condition for the prior case is that non-residential uses are only allowed on the ground floor facing North Market Street. So the intention is the second and third floor be residential. But the first floor can be residential, it's just it cannot exceed commercial uses other than that first floor. We did receive an email in opposition, was passed along to Planning Commission. And just to summarize, I think the concerns were lack of parking, the impact on the residences along Hamilton. Planning Commission did recommend approval for this and carrying over that condition, again, to kind of allow continuity and zoning across the site.
All right, thank you. Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Karen. I appreciate this presentation. I have reached out to the North Chattanooga Neighborhood Association, or connected the developer with them, and they've had some conversation about this, in addition to the email that we received, you received and I received, that was sharing the concerns about parking. What I'm recognizing within the shared concerns is really about the traffic flow on Hamilton Avenue. And so I would appreciate it if planning and traffic could work together to take a look at, is it appropriate to continue having that road be a one-way street on that section? Because the way that this plan would work, where these buildings sit, all the traffic will have to turn right when there is in fact North Market Street just to the left. That would reduce traffic on that, on that one street, all going to that other intersection. And I think that that's a good thing for us to consider as part of just the growth of this area. Makes a lot of sense, I think, to put the whole thing under one zoning and then develop it as a single piece. So if I could just get that information about, what traffic has to say about that, I would appreciate it.
I'll follow up with Public Works, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Karen, we have a case in District 4, 0048, that we have a note attached. You want to run through that for us?
Yes, if you looked at a prior version of the agenda, this looked like the applicant had requested an R2 zone and that had been denied by Planning Commission. Partly triggered by a follow-up by Councilman Ledford. I rewatched the video, and Planning Commission had recommended approval of the R2. There's just a lot going on, so it's been corrected on the agenda now. It was advertised as showing the applicant and staff version supporting the R2. And this is just a rezoning for a 2-unit development along Standiford Gap Road. The RZ1 zone, it's not very common. This was rezoned in 2002. There is a mix of RTZ, RZ1, R4 in the area. The plan for the area recommends suburban place type, which does allow small lots or attached townhomes along major streets. This kind of falls into that category. Staff recommending approval of this. Its proposed density is compatible with surrounding, and the zone is compatible with the zone mix already there. Excuse me, I did not correct this to approve. Planning Commission did support the rezoning to R2. There was an email in opposition and support. The email in opposition referenced, made a note for myself, the concern about the multifamily apartments. I think that's just because of the zone designation, not the fact that it's a 2-unit structure. And then there was a neighbor wrote in support of this rezoning.
Very good. And I did have a chance to contact the applicant and assure them that the motion I made at Planning Commission was for approval.
Thank you. And Brian followed up also.
And they have fulfilled their duties and knocked on every door in Applebrook, so that adjacent property. So I appreciate them making that effort as well. So, any other questions or comments on this case? None. Okay. Can you load up 0052 for me?
Yes.
And we will get a brief overview for Dr. Burrs.
Okay, so this is, as Dr. Burrs mentioned, a rezoning for 2 access points to an existing rezoned area. So The area shown in blue is a future development. It was rezoned in 1972. In order to access that development using driveways, the little red areas heading on to Vance need to be rezoned. There is language in the zoning ordinance that prohibits accessing an R3 zone through an R1 property. So that is solely the trigger for this rezoning. There is a mix of uses. Staff felt that it was reasonable. The applicant had recommended some conditions because this is so small, seemed unlikely that anything other than the access points or maybe a single-family home would be built on that. So staff's just recommending approval. There was not opposition present, and Planning Commission too is recommending approval.
Dr. Burrs.
So the property itself, where the apartments are going to be built,
Yes.
it was rezoned for that in,
1972.
okay.
So yes.
Do we know what's going to be built there?
There is a site plan that was provided with the application materials, and we're calling them townhomes, but they
Okay.
look like they're detached residential structures. It's just all on one big lot based on the site plan provided.
Okay, so it's not a PUD or anything, it's
It
just,
is not a PUD, it is R3 zoning, and then that's what they're showing as their proposal, and they're showing those driveways.
okay, and so that's what you approved?
Just the driveway access points, only those would be, are up for rezoning. The other part was rezoned, there's no conditions, so they can really, as
Do
long as the
anything.
development form meets the standards, they can do anything under that R3.
Okay. Well, that looks reasonable. I just couldn't figure out what he was talking about.
Yes,
I got
it's
it
a bit
now.
unusual, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You good, Dr. Burrs?
Yeah, I'm good.
That is a rather unusual situation there. 0051, Karen, our last case with opposition
Yes, this
at
is.
Planning Commission.
Yes, this is on Central Avenue. This one is a little unusual too. We had the urban general commercial zone that was limiting development to 4 stories and had a building footprint because it was being used so often. There was a desire to have additional housing. We changed the urban general commercial zone. So prior, it locked it down. So if you want the new urban general commercial zone standards, you have to rezone and go through the whole process. That was to acknowledge that all those projects that went through under the old zone, that they were compatible when council reviewed them at the time. And if you want to do something different, you have to go through the process now. So we have a project that's already zoned urban general commercial. It's conditioned to 3 stories. So the rezoning to urban general commercial now will allow an extra 2 stories and a larger footprint. So the property is just north of Rossville Avenue and Central Avenue, and the development form is transitioning, and the plan identifies this area as multi-story buildings with a mix of residential and office. So staff is recommending, I've got some pictures in here just if the opposition showed up. Staff found that the request is compatible. Staff did recommend a condition limiting the building height because we do have this single-family home here. There was opposition present at Planning Commission from the person in the, that lives at this home. She was just interested in the address. She wasn't sure if her property is part of the rezoning. She was also interested in making sure that her, access to her property would not be blocked. And just really overall what was going on with the project site. So Planning Commission gave her some information. The applicant and the property owner here spoke. The applicant did state in Planning Commission after discussion, thought this condition really wasn't going to get to what they thought it would, so Planning Commission recommended approval.
Councilwoman Dolly?
All right, thank you so much. So Karen, it would be, are they asking for 5 stories?
They are asking for UGC, which will allow 5 stories, yes.
Right. And then I will add the condition that the adjacent property will have access to their property, that it won't be restricted. So I want to add that condition on as we put that on for next week to make sure that they'll have the access they need.
Making a note of that, and I'll just as an aside, we have a excuse me, a case coming to Planning Commission on the same property, and we reached out to let the person know since she came to Planning Commission and just wasn't sure, so we reached out and let her know about that case too.
Okay.
And asked the applicant to follow up again with her just to make sure she understands what's going on in the area.
Okay, that works then. So we'll have, so UGC will let them go up 5 stories, and that will be, would that be the only condition? I don't know why I thought.
The plan really sees a mix of uses because this area is transitioning. And so we didn't recommend any others based on the plan recommendation. We didn't recommend any additional uses because the UGC zone will take, excuse me, will limit like auto-oriented uses type thing would not be, they have different standards for those.
Okay, that works. Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councilwoman Dottley, may I ask you, would you like to see that with an added condition as an
Yes.
alternate version?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay. So, Mr. Attorney?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you, Mr.
welcome.
Chairman.
Council, any other cases in planning and zoning you'd like to go over for, they show up on our agenda next week? I'm seeing none. Chairman, we do not have a attorney-client. Oh, I see a light.
Okay, on the case 2024-0058, that's in District 8.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I do believe I received an email from this individual, but I have not had a conversation, nor have I visited the site, so.
Okay. Karen, can we do a contact?
Yes, I will reach out and ask him to contact you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Council, any other cases you would like to comment on, questions? Mr. Chairman, with your permission, we will stand in recess until 4:45. Thank you.